Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Riley, the stenographer. And welcome to the Teachers Retirement Board meeting for October 25th, 2021. I'll begin by calling the roll. John Adler,
I'm here.
Thomas Brown,
I'm here, Patricia.
Natalie Green Giles,
Sorry, I'm here virtually.
David Kazansky,
Present.
Russell Buckley,
On behalf of CFO Lindsay Oates, here.
Deborah Penny,
Here.
and Susanna Vickers.
And I'm here.
Okay, so we have a quorum. So the first item on the agenda is an update on TR's operations. And Kavita Kamar is going to give us that update. Kavita?
Hi, good afternoon. So far this school year, approximately 5,600 new members have been enrolled with TRS based on the data received from Department of Education, CUNY, and charter schools. New members receive a welcome letter from TRS when they are enrolled. The 2021 annual benefit statements are now being posted to the secure section of the TRS website. The statements are available for approximately 124,000 members in active service or on leave. Members are informed about their online statement by email, and they can log into the member portal to securely access the statement. TRS mailed letters in early October to about 900 members who have been inactive for 7 consecutive school years, advising them that their membership has expired. Thank you, Patricia.
Thanks, Kavita.
Mhm.
Okay, next on the agenda is a report from the actuary. Sherry?
Good afternoon. I just have a couple announcements regarding 2 reports that were issued in September. These are both accounting standards reports. So they are reporting pension liability and OPEB liability based on accounting standards that are prescribed by the governmental accounting standards boards. Namely, statements 67 and 68 prescribe the pension liability disclosures, and 74 and 75 statements dictate how the OPEB liabilities are to be disclosed. These reports are can be found on the Actuary's office's website under the Reports tab. And just to note that these reports are produced for the comptroller for the City of New York, and it is used in the city's annual comprehensive financial statements at the end of the year. So those are where the numbers are disclosed.
Thank you, Sherry. Next on the agenda is the Executive Director's Report. And the first item there is the next meeting. And it has been suggested that the next regular meeting of the Teachers Retirement Board be held on the 3rd Thursday of the month, November 18th, 2021. Mark our calendars. The next is the resolution. The following resolution is presented for consideration and possible adoption.
Please skip to the results.
Do you want to do the last one and then I'll make?
Resolved that the board will undertake to prudently grow our investments in climate change solutions across all feasible asset classes, targeting 4.2 billion across the portfolio by 2025 and 19 billion by 2035, recognizing these to be aspirational goals that are subject to periodic updates, taking into account the system's asset allocation, pipeline, and opportunity sets for each asset class. 2, study and explore prudent interim targets for reducing emissions consistent with the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway for our assets and plan to set a target for 2030 or earlier. 3, incorporate consideration of climate change risk and opportunity and net zero alignment in the evaluation, due diligence, selection, and monitoring of asset managers. 4, develop the capacity to report the carbon footprint attributable to our total assets consistent with the TCFD framework, beginning with annual analysis of the scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions attributable to our public market assets and explore other prudent tools for evaluating climate risks to the portfolio. 5, prioritize proxy voting, engagement, and policy advocacy that promote alignment with the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway by the companies we invest in, and to prudently allocate the funds needed to enhance our capacity to do so. And be it further resolved, the board will pursue this goal by ensuring prudence, skill, and care in investment decisions and continuing to seek competitive market rate, risk-adjusted returns consistent with the system's investment policies and goals and fiduciary duty. And be it further resolved, the board adopt the net zero asset owner commitment of the Paris-aligned Investment Initiative, PA2, a formal partner of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Race to Zero campaign, allowing the system to collaborate with and learn from other asset owners and asset managers on best practices for achieving net zero emissions. And be it further resolved, the board adopts the attached climate action plan as guidance for an approach to achieving its net zero goal and directs its investment advisors, to develop a full implementation plan for the net zero goal consistent with the rationale and elements of the guidance, and annually report on the implementation plan and its progress. And be it further resolved that this resolution will be appended to the TRS investment policy statement.
Okay. Raise your hand if you want Patricia to read that over again. Do I hear a motion?
I'm so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kazansky. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Vickers. Any discussion?
I just have one question. The reference to the attached climate action plan I didn't get the attachment. Did anybody else get the attachment?
Natalie, it was in convene.
Okay.
Convene for the SIM.
Okay, thank you.
Both this month. Yeah, this month. Yeah.
Okay, I will get it from there. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. I'm very proud of the leadership this board has shown to address the risk climate change poses to the TRS portfolio, and striving to meet the net zero goal is part of that leadership. As trustees and fiduciaries, we all know our responsibility is first and foremost to our members and the beneficiaries to protect and grow the value of the portfolio and to pay the benefits. That fiduciary duty must and will continue to be our primary driver of our investment decisions. So good work, everyone. Thank you.
And excuse me, this is the court reporter. Who was just speaking?
Deborah Penny.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you for that statement.
Yep, thank you.
So next is an executive session.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm
No, you
sorry.
have to,
I'm back.
we didn't do the
Calendar,
approval.
okay.
Yep.
Next is the calendar. And the first item on the calendar is the matter of the approval of the minutes for the September 13th, 2021 investment meeting and the September 20th, 2021 board meeting.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Kazansky. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, minutes are approved.
Next are the items, and you all should have received your electronic version of the detail of the items on the calendar.
Please waive the reading of the calendar.
Thank you.
And excuse me, who was that gentleman that just spoke?
David Kazansky asked for the calendar to be, reading to be waived.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve the calendar?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Adler. Do I hear a second?
Second, Susanna Vickers.
Thank you, Ms. Vickers. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, calendar is approved. Next,
So we're gonna go, when we go into executive session, should people stay here and we'll come back to public?
can we do that, Liz?
Yes. All right, so we're gonna go into executive. Everybody who's not in the executive session should wait and we'll return to public.
Okay, do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kazansky. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, we're going into executive session.
There you go. Susan, could you do a readout of what occurred in executive session?
She's on mute. You're on mute.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've been having a few Zoom problems here, but in executive session, we discussed a personnel issue and we discussed an investment matter.
Thank you. So next is other business, and the first item is about the actuary selection process. Trying to go read
Okay.
it.
Yeah, so we know that Sherry Chan, we will miss you terribly, although you haven't given us your formal, your letter of resignation yet, but we assume it's going to be coming. And when it does come, so you know that according to the administrative code, TRS, NICers and BRRs will decide on an actuary. So we're going to do a little a process. I've spoken to John Adler and I have spoken to Russell Buckley. And what we'll do is the three of us as chairs of TRS, NICers and BRRs, we will ask for resumes for the potential interim actuary. We will read the resumes and then have a discussion about that interview, and we will come up with an acting actuary. So, yep, any questions about that? And then after that, we'll form a committee and we'll hire someone that actually finds all the candidates. We'll do the interview process. We'll do the whole process after that. But I think first and foremost, since we'll only have 1 month to deal with all of this, it's very important that we come up with an acting interim actuary that knows the system and could do the best job possible.
Deb, I was just going to say that that committee of you, me, and Russell will be coming back with a recommendation to the three boards. It obviously is up to the boards to
Correct.
appoint the actuary, acting or permanent.
Right, perfect.
And further, I will add, as a trustee on both teachers and BRRs, I have spoken, just for the record, I've spoken with the labor trustees on the BRRs board and let them know that I am participating on behalf of my boss, the trustee CFO Lindsay Oates, and they're all good with that. So yes, Natalie, to preempt your question, I talked to Donald and John.
Hey, I'm always looking out for the labor people, so thank you for anticipating my question.
I would not move forward without their approval.
Great. Any questions on that? Okay, perfect. All right.
Next is, oh, I didn't bring it. Thad, maybe you can help me out.
Sure.
Is the new medical board doctor for the labor side has
Sure.
been hired, and we're
Yes.
just informing you.
Yes, so thank you, Patricia. During the summer, we worked with the representative of the contributors to hire a new doctor to the medical board, and the physician who was appointed was Dr. Gloria Tombati, spelled M-T-O-M-B-O-T-I, but it's pronounced Tombati. So we welcome her to the board and want to thank the trustees for all their hard work, and as well as the staff at TRS that participated in the selection process.
Thank you. Okay, and next is the, I sent out the Ivmv report. So hopefully you had a chance to take a look at it. And if you have any questions, myself or my designees will try to do our best to answer them.
I would just ask, are there any issues in the Ivmv report that you would highlight for the board, that something we should be paying close attention to? Or you or Bob or anybody else from the project?
Well, Bob, do you want to I know that the Ivmv report pointed out that, Galeno certainly is a concern for the modernization project. Bob, if you want to expand on that. Take yourself over.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, John, one of the things that's been highlighted in the past year's worth of Ivmv reports is the ongoing fluidity of Galeno and the impact that that has on modernization. Every time we've discovered something new that has to be coded, designed, tested, test data created, system integration tested, documented, trained, etc. It takes time away from modernization because, since we're using the modernization platform to build the Galeno functionality, we split our resources. And since Galeno touches most of the subjects, if you were at TRS, it pulls our subject matter expertise time as well as our technical people's expertise time away from modernization to Galeno. And it's ongoing. And unplanned for. Back in when we started Galeno and put together the business case, we thought we had a set of defined requirements that we were working to in terms of the type of pension relief that the special master was going to be awarding to Galeno claimants, and therefore the functionality and processes that we would have to build to accommodate that. But the fluidity in the pension relief that's being handed out, is constantly causing us to enhance, redesign, retest. And we have, a lot of the way it comes up is because we're discovering it as we receive data from the DOE. We're discovering, this data doesn't conform to anything that anybody told us to expect for pension relief for a Galeno claimant. And so far, we've only processed through about 500 out of the expected 3,500 to 3,700 Galeno claimants, where I would be very, very surprised if in the next feed that we're getting from the DOE, which is sometime soon, and we're expecting, we'll be around another 500 claimants, if we don't run into more fluidity. Here's a new set of pension relief that we have to deal with that nobody told us about before. And it's also dragging out the process because of this fluidity, we can never run the DOE Galeno feed directly into our production system. We are always going to be running it into our test system, analyzing every result, and looking for these, fluid cases that don't conform to what we were told to expect, and therefore are causing problems in the system or will result in erroneous calculations on TRS's part. So again, the impact of modernization is that we are relying on our existing subject matter resources and a good number of our technical architects and development people to work on the Galeno functionality, but it takes away from modernization, and it's going to make modernization go for longer. How much longer? We don't know, because we don't know how much more fluidity we'll run into. So that I would highlight as probably the biggest issue in the Ivmv reports. Did I make your day, John?
Yeah,
Bob, or Bill, that you could think of to highlight? I would just say, I'm not sure whether it was in the Ivmv report. I read it quite a while ago, but I would say that, We had some slowdown because we had some quality issues with phase 4. So that, we've been, mitigating and fixing errors that were occurring. I think I talked about this the last time we talked about modernization. And we are on phase 5. We are working on phase 5 at this point. But I don't think like the Ivmv report usually congratulates TRS that we put quality over time. Because in the end, quality is going to cost us money, even if we go and we implement functionality into production like we did with phase 4. And then it's more expensive to fix it at that point than to, make sure that it's high quality before it goes into production. Because first of all, it'll cause problems and money for us to fix the problems, but it also will impact the members because if our quality is poor, the member will be impacted by poor quality. So we did, put resources that otherwise would have been working on our future phases into fixing some of the quality problems with phase 4. But we pretty much finished doing that, and our resources are now moved over to phase 5. We're up to phase 5 at this point. There are about, I think, 16 phases. There are many implementations of like every 6 weeks we do an implementation. So, I think that's just one area of concern in the project that we all at TRS share. The delays that the poor quality of phase 4 caused us. But we're moving past that now, and we learned a lot of lessons from it. And I'm sure we'll continue to learn lessons.
Can I ask a follow-up? So part of what I'm hearing, but I guess I'm sorry, I'm being inarticulate as usual.
Oh, sure.
Is there a concern that the not to exceed budget is going to be exceeded either because of the issues that you just described, Patricia, around making quality primary over time, which I'm not criticizing, I'm just asking a question, or because Galeno is going to cost more money and or add more time to the project than anticipated?
Well, for both, but I think that we're not going to go over budget while you're in office. And I don't think we're going to go, even if we are,
That's not saying much. That's not saying much since I'm only around for 2 more months.
Just a joke. But we don't anticipate going very much over budget of the not to exceed. We may go over, but I think by a very small percentage. We are managing it. We're trying to manage it. We're trying to get people, I think, as people are retiring and people are leaving, we're trying to bring on the type of skills that we can use to be able to let go of some consultants beforehand so that we could save money there. And we're also, and so we've also changed our methodology somewhat, which we think is going to ensure the acceptance of the functionality as it goes in. It was very difficult to take in, like when we said phase 4, it was a very big phase that included a lot of functionality. And it was, even though people were involved all along, it was a big change for them. The issues didn't help, and it was hard for them to accept, what's the word, like, for them to get on board with what was being done. Now we've changed our methodology that, like I said, phase 5 has like 16 small 6-week implementations. So we're putting it in very small increments so that people can absorb it and they can be comfortable with it so that it's not a big effort if something goes wrong. Because it's a small amount of functionality. So first of all, it's easier for them to test it. It's easier for them when it goes into production to be able to, and we're seeing very few errors in production now because there's small little increments that build on each other. So we're hoping that that's going to help us to implement the system so that we don't have those quality issues in the future. So I think we probably will, John, go a little bit over budget, but I don't think by a huge amount.
I guess I'd ask you to define that, but I don't think I want to ask you to define that at this time.
Huge amount? I don't think it was a lot. Bob, do you remember like what the percentage that we were estimating? And it's only an estimate because everything's just an estimate. Do you remember the estimate?
I think we were estimating between 5 and 9%. It was less than 10%. So less than 10%.
And we don't expect that until the second, well, I don't know if this guy will have another term, but like that probably will probably end the project in 2024. Is that correct, Bob? And we don't expect those.
Yeah, that's what we're projecting right now is the total impact of Galeno, the CARES Act stuff, and the phase 4 delays that Patricia talked about.
It's calendar year
And the
2024.
pandemic didn't really hurt us because people were very productive. But what hurt us in the pandemic, which we didn't mention, was all of the work that we had to do for the CARES Act. And we had to get it done. We had to do it. We had to provide that. All the you know, so again, that took time away from the modernization project, which then caused it to be go out longer than we had wanted.
Just to be clear, the 2024 projected end, that's calendar year, not fiscal year. Is that correct? Yeah. And then one other question. The 5 to 9%, that would be beyond the total not to exceed for the project plus the Galeno increase, right?
That's correct, yes.
And do you anticipate that, given what you described about Galeno, that the cost of the Galeno modifications will exceed the budget that we approved for that 36 or whatever it was, 36 or so million?
So John, right at this point, like I said, we found all this fluidity in the first 500 out of 3,700 expected claimants. I think it's so hard to say, oh, did we run across 75% of the incidents, or will we have just as many in the next 500? I think that's going to be an easier question to answer once we have more data. Like the next feed we get from the DOE, if we run into as many issues as we ran into in the first feed, then I'm going to project, oh, and we're going to continue to run into this with every feed that we have. But if we run into a significantly smaller number of issues, oh, good, then we can project that, hey, they're going to taper off and we're good. I'll tell you right now that if we run into the same number of issues and I have to project out that we're going to continue to run into this level of issues, we will come back. But if it's taper off, we have contingency there, if you remember. And I really think that, you know, the current things that we've had to deal with that have basically added a year to the project, they're within the contingency. You know, it's how much more do we have? We still have contingency to deal with some more, but let's see what happens with the next batch that's coming in.
Understood. Thank you for that lucid explanation.
I have a question. It's Natalie for the stenographer. Just on the slow and steady, is there a court mandated date by which the Galeno cases need to be made whole, for lack of better phrasing?
We don't have a court mandated date for when we have to finish the processing. And in fact, with the help of corporate counsel, we have explained to plaintiff's counsel and to, the special masters team, just how much work has to go into the development of functionality to handle the Galeno cases, that we have to phase that work. So following the 80-20 rule, we're processing the supposedly vanilla cases currently. That's the functionality we have in place. But they understand that, and I don't know how familiar you are with Galeno, but I would say for the death benefits piece of Galeno and for the claimants who have outside pensions and are going to get a TRS pension, which is kind of another level of processing, they do understand that we have to phase this, that we couldn't possibly, do everything all at once. So right now, we don't have any hard date deadlines. The plaintiff's counsel and the special master are happy that we've started processing the plain vanilla population. And my understanding from corporate counsel is, as long as we can continue to report progress and that we're processing claimants, they're not going to set a really hard and fast, it has to be done at this. We had originally projected, apart from the functionality, that if the special master was able to issue the individual judgments such that, and this was his estimate, such that we received the last individual judgment in December of this year, it was going to take us 3 years to do the processing. And they haven't been able to keep pace with that. So, right now, part of the fluidity is, when are we going to be finished processing Galeno? And it starts with, when is the special masters team going to be finished issuing individual judgments? And some of this fluidity that I've talked about definitely goes back to the special master from us through corporate counsel, because there's a lot of, did you really mean to do this questions? And in some cases, the answers come back, no. And so we're going to redo this individual judgment. And could you please move it off your list and onto somewhere else? So no hard and fast dates at the moment.
Yeah, and that's what I add, because there's multiple city agencies that we're partnering with. We're waiting for like the special master to give the Department of Education and then we wait on the Department of Education to give us the data to be able to then process. So I think Corp Counsel is making sure that, we're, is meeting with us and meeting with the Department of Education and just working along with us to get it done. That's, so at this point, we don't have any, I don't think there's a mandated date. I think they want to just see progress. All right, well, is there any other questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but I have a statement, I guess, which is that, overall, the report is extremely positive and dealing with the fact that there were issues in phase 4 and we had COVID and Galeno, the fact that the Ivmv report is still primarily extremely positive on what TRS has done to date and its projection on what TRS is going to be able to accomplish, I think is a testament to the hard work of the staff and the leadership.
So thanks so much, David. I agree. We have a hardworking team, both on our consulting side, but especially on our TRS employees side. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I guess next on the agenda is any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none.
Seeing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr.
That was
Kazan.
Dave Kazansky.
Do I have a second?
Second, Tom
Thank
Brown.
you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.